Israel has escalated tensions by demolishing homes in southern Lebanon, violating the ceasefire agreement. Meanwhile, Gaza endures intensified Israeli strikes, causing widespread devastation and a humanitarian crisis. Moving on to Lebanon, where President Joseph Aoun and Syrian officials discuss cooperation as parliament navigates leadership roles amid ongoing challenges. Join our special coverage on Qnews, where we tackle the latest developments in the Middle East, and we begin with Lebanon.
كل المستهدفين هن مدنيين.
الوضع شيء مرعب، شيء بخوف.
The Israeli occupation military has demolished 5 residential homes in the village of Aita Shab, located in southern Lebanon. Lebanese media reported that Israeli forces planted explosives in at least 5 homes in Beit Jbeil district before detonating them. Additionally, sweeping operations were conducted using heavy and medium machine guns, targeting the towns of Maroun al-Ras and Yaroun. These actions constitute a clear violation of the ceasefire agreement between Israel and Lebanon, which has been in effect since November the 27th, 2024. Moving on to Lebanon, where Lebanese President Joseph Aoun received a phone call from Syria's military operations chief, Ahmed al-Shara, who congratulated him on his election and wished him a success in his new role. During the conversation, both leaders underscored the importance of strengthening ties between Syria and Lebanon and fostering cooperation to advance the shared interests of the two neighboring countries. Members of the Lebanese parliament have emphasized the importance of defining the role of the prime minister in alignment with President Joseph Aoun's vision following his election. In an interview with Lebanese media, the member of parliament, Ibrahim Minema, stated that intense communication were ongoing and would require time. He also expressed his readiness to assume the role of prime minister. Meanwhile, Member Parliament Qasim Hashim indicated his support for naming Naguib Mikati as Prime Minister, stating that this choice aligns with President Aoun's principles and priorities. After 2 years of political deadlock, Lebanon's parliament elected General Joseph Aoun as president, marking a fresh start and raising hopes for national stability and reform.
After a prolonged period of stagnation that paralyzed Lebanese politics, General Joseph Aoun was elected president by parliament, securing 99 out of 128 votes, ending a 2-year political vacuum. In his inaugural address, President Aoun declared, "Let the world know a new chapter has begun," signaling a fresh start for the nation. The election of President Aoun, who previously served as the army commander, was facilitated by a domestic agreement aligning with international pressure. This consensus underscores the influential role of key political factions in Lebanon's governance. In his speech, President Aoun outlined a comprehensive rescue plan aimed at addressing Lebanon's multifaceted crisis. He emphasized the necessity of a national defense strategy, highlighting the state's exclusive right to bear arms and the importance of investing in the Lebanese armed forces to safeguard the nation's sovereignty. He also pledged to preside over reconstruction efforts and ensure the withdrawal of Israeli occupation forces from southern Lebanon. The international community responded positively to Aoun's election. Domestically, the election has been met with cautious optimism. Political analysts note that while the presidency has been filled, the new administration faces the formidable task of implementing reforms to revive the economy, combat corruption, and restore public trust in state institutions. The formation of a new government capable of enacting these reforms will be a critical next step. As Lebanon embarks on this new chapter under President Joseph Aoun's leadership, the nation and its citizens remain hopeful for a period of stability, effective governance, and progress. The coming days will be crucial in determining the trajectory of Lebanon's recovery and its re-engagement with the international community.
And for further analysis on the current situation in Lebanon, we're joined from Beirut by Military Affairs and International Relations expert, General Baha Halel. Welcome to the Qnews, sir, and a very warm welcome. Sir, what are the immediate and long-term implications of Israel demolishing homes in Ayat al-Shab on the Lebanese-Israeli ceasefire agreement?
تقصد ما هي الاعتداءات؟ اوكي. تحياتي لكم.
Greetings to you at the outset. The Israeli enemy is violating the ceasefire agreement and undergoing its violations upon villages, despite they vows the Americans can avoid Hochstein by releasing the sectors within 5 days. But upon the arrival of Hochstein, evacuated Al-Qura and 2 other villages, and today evacuated a brigade of the Israeli army hidden to Gaza. I think what the Israeli enemy undergoing in line with electing Joseph Aoun as a president of the Republic is trying to establish that they are capable of controlling the movability in the southern of Lebanon to create a branch through which manage today and the upcoming days. They think that they are controlling the freedom of movement in order to strike any threat upon Israel.
Sir, will the different political blocs in Lebanon's parliament be able to name a new prime minister in a timely manner, or will we face another political deadlock, which I think at this point is not applicable?
أيوة. Practically, the strong beginning through which the President Joseph Aoun was elected, along with the foreign support by USA and the Arab sphere, on top of which the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and I think he is capable to provide the support to overcome obstacles, and I think the first file is the government of the new era according to the logic, and I think that the Saudi delegations will come to Lebanon and to make the consultations. But the consultation according to the Lebanese constitution will start tomorrow with the MPs, and I think that would lead, as it is clear, the competition between the President Naguib Mikati and MP Fuad Mahzoumi. Mikati will be nominated by the Freedom and Development Bloc and the Resistance Faction, as well as Fringiya Bloc and the Democratic Dialogue of Walid Gumblat and the Bloc of Independent. I think it and the opposition upon this regime represented by the Lebanese forces wish to nominate Fuad Mahzoumi, and this isn't the dilemma if just naming the premier. The problem would lie down upon the forming the government, and once we've overcome this matter, there will be the hidden to come up with the ministerial statement by the political powers that would form the government, imposing their opinions, a way of the resistance of the Israeli entity, and some do not wish to. So hence the ability of Michel Aoun, Joseph Aoun, as well as the Arab countries to overcome such obstacles.
Sir, can you please elaborate on the significance of the phone call between Lebanese President Joseph Aoun and Syria's military operations chief Ahmed al-Shara?
Ahmed al-Shara is the chief of the governing entity in Syria right now, and as it is satisfied by the American administration, as well as the elect president Joseph Aoun is already enjoying a great international support, and I think the phone call was coming out of protocols, but through which a series of consultations started by Ahmed al-Shara, tackling the borders, smuggling, and the Syrian refugees who created a natural state economically and socially. And this matter was continued to be tackled through the phone of Ahmed al-Shara and President Aoun, threatening the respect of the two countries' borders as well as their sovereignties.
Sir, how might improved relations between Lebanon and Syria impact Lebanon's political and security dynamics?
Practically, there are no military problems through history between Lebanon and Syria, but only from the terrorist groups that invaded some Lebanese territories and kidnapped some soldiers from Lebanon. And the elect President Ahmed Aoun, the commander of the army, and struck the terrorists, and some were arrested in Rumi prison, and some of them flee to Syria. I don't think there is no agreement between a state and the other, but between the terrorists. And there is an entity of HTC, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, that considered to produce a state that is peaceful. And the discourse of Ahmed al-Shara wants to tackle between the states, as each state respects the borders of each. The most important file is the smuggling that affects the Lebanese, and the most critical one, and the Syrian refugees throughout Lebanon. I do not think there is a proper militarily between the two states, but the social problems along with the refugees.
That was Military Affairs and International Relations expert General Bahe Halal. Thank you very much, sir, for your valuable, informative knowledge and your insights. And now we move on to the latest developments in Gaza. Israel has dispatched a senior delegation to Doha to advance negotiations on a potential ceasefire and detainee exchange deal with Hamas in Gaza. According to a statement from the Israeli Prime Minister's office, the move followed a situational assessment conducted by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Saturday evening. The meeting included Defense Minister Israel Katz and U.S. negotiators for both the outgoing and incoming administrations. Three Palestinians, including a paramedic, were killed last night as Israeli forces intensified their bombardment across the Gaza Strip. Palestinian media reported that Israeli strikes targeted residential homes in the Bureij and Nusrayat refugee camps in central Gaza. Meanwhile, Israeli military vehicles continued heavy shelling in the northwestern regions of Gaza City, escalating the attacks and deepening the humanitarian crisis. Israeli occupation forces have detained 3 children during an early morning raid in Al Khalil, located in the southern part of the occupied West Bank. Palestinian media reported that Israeli forces have intensified restrictions on Palestinian movement across the region. Entrances to several refugee camps have been blocked, and numerous Palestinian commercial shops in Al Khalil have been forcibly closed, further worsening tensions in the area. And for further analysis on the current situation in Gaza, we're joined from occupied Jerusalem by member of the political bureau of the FIDA party and the secretariat of the National Action Committee in Jerusalem, Ratiba El-Natsh. A very warm welcome to Qnews, and it's our pleasure to have you on the show. Does the arrival of a senior Israeli delegation in Doha indicate a potential breakthrough in ceasefire negotiations?
The technical team of Israel talks about 90% of the deal being completed, and at the Palestinian part of Hamas, there is progressive and development of this deal. But since we've seen in May up to now, once the technical team reach an understanding and through the voting or signatory by Israel, something new would happen. Despite the last only 4 hours, there was a direct intervention of the new president, elect President Donald Trump, to pressure to execute the deal. The pressure was of two sides to push forward, and from the other side is threatened of the hell upon taking office on 20th of January, i.e. that the international pressures and indicators lead to make the deal, and only a few details will lift may relate to the next day after the war, not through the exchange of prisoners and humanitarian aid. Hebrew media talked about individual meeting made by the Prime Minister along with the ministers of the cabinet in a bid to unify their positions and to execute a deal that many are hopeful from the Gazan and longing for. Following 15 months of the continued military operation upon the sector and the shortage of food and medicine in the Gaza Strip.
How might the involvement of the United States negotiators influence the progress of these talks?
We were always, and whoever is having the pressure key of executing the deal is the United States of America. And I think that the serious intervention of Donald Trump into making this deal in order to remove the political obstacles before this technical delegation, I think that the impact will be towards to make the deal as soon as possible, and that we might see within 2 to 3 days crowned by the U.S. efforts. And I think that the other party, if the America and the Trump mindset to execute the deal through the negotiation, will be imposed forcibly.
Okay, what are the immediate humanitarian consequences of the intensified Israeli bombardment across Gaza, especially in refugee camps, Dr. Atiba?
The humanitarian situation in the Gaza Strip isn't in the agenda of the Israeli and American administrations. The U.S. administration is looking forward to release the hostages as Israeli prisoners holding the American nationality weren't released in the first phase of the exchange of releases in the first 50 days of the war. Even several foreign nationals were released. So this issue for the USA is most important is to deliver the humanitarian aid in the Gaza Strip, despite the issue of humanitarian crisis the whole world is talking about that makes the world line up of what's happening in the Gaza Strip that we've never seen in the modern history, a humanitarian crisis that is intensified as it happens in Gaza Strip. And this even would affect the image of USA as well as Israel that had become facing a moral crisis in the world as a result of the deterioration of the humanitarian crisis in the Gaza Strip.
How have restrictions on Palestinian movement in the West Bank, including the detention of children, impacted daily life and regional stability, and is this acceptable?
In the Gaza Strip, we are facing a daily detainees and interventions of the first A-class zones that is under the Palestinian Authority that exceeded 18,000 of detainees since the 7th of October. Deterioration of infrastructure, camps and invasion of all the cities. This is not unacceptable. That would go in line of the attacks of settlers trespassing the agricultural field of the Palestinian people, making what is named the yield settlements in the Gaza Strip, and they never hesitate to use the weapons provided by the Minister of the Internal Security, Ben Gvir, that exceeded 27,000 of pieces of guns since the 7th of October up till now.
Okay, Dr. Atiba, that was a member of the Political Bureau of the FIDA Party and Secretariat of the National Action Committee in Jerusalem, Ratiba Nacha. Thank you very much for your valuable knowledge and insights. This brings us to the end of our special coverage on the Middle East. Remember to stay updated by following Qnews on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram and TikTok at Qnews EG for the latest developments. Thank you very much for watching.